So far, not that too far off. Welcome to my channel, KC, that's me, Carrie Chuck the Sledge Storyteller. So, almost 2 years ago, I posted a video about my expectations of what will be presented in the new Masters of the Universe movie, and there were some unexpected revelations related to them, and that came from the teaser trailer that I thought were worth touching upon again. Also, the release of the action figures for this movie. I know I wasn't alone in wanting to veer away from what the 1987 movie did in setting so much of it on Earth, and it was like the day after I posted my previous video about this that I learned that the production team set the movie's plot where Prince Adam, in somewhat Superman fashion, is sent to Earth for his safety, only he's to eventually be returned to Eternia and be their Superman, so to speak. The trailer has Earth bits toward the end, and I just hope that that's part of the same initial Earth segment. I've watched some videos reacting to the trailer expressing hopes that time spent on Earth will last just 10 minutes. I'd consider myself lucky if it only lasts a half hour, but most of the trailer shows Eternia footage. It has been revealed that there were rewrites that put greater emphasis on what happens in Eternia, so here's hoping they're getting that right in the movie. And when I think about it, it might be the most effective framing device in using Adam to have him spend some time on Earth rather than the static feel of his growing up in the palace. The original Masters of the Universe action figures, books, and Filmation cartoon gave a firm establishment of what all these characters were supposed to look like in our eyes. The first movie compromised on every character, but they were still recognizable. The costumes we see in the trailer are unbelievably accurate and designed in a way that makes it really cool and not gaudy like I tend to worry will come about. But everyone who grew up watching most of the cartoon series will readily pick up on this as being Prince Adam, and I think it works. He-Man's armored harness has gone through enough changes that this decision, along with the leather kilt instead of the loincloth, work out just fine. Man-at-Arms ditches the orange for the gray, and the armor's almost line for line the same. Teela, okay, someone tell me if they were expecting something more accurate to this. I never even thought it was battle ready or even sexy back in the day. While not bad, I think the 1987 movie Teela outfit didn't fit its fantasy setting, more a Star Wars setting and a space platform. I think this latest outfit looks good and practical. Fisto here looks accurate, and the use of his specialty looks effective. Still unclear on just what Mechanic will look like, and I'm interested in how he will prove practical with his one-note neck extension outside of just being a periscope. Ram Man, this action figure, I like the look of it, and I'm intrigued over how he will be implemented. Springy legs, not much confidence in replicating that. I hope they really make this believable and practical. Roboto has been drastically redesigned, but I can't say I was very invested in the previous design. The whole shtick to the character seems to be in play with the change of weaponized hands, so this works for me. Skeletor looks only slightly modified from his originally designed with the cape and no straps under his ribs, and I love the design for his Havoc staff. Goatman looks on point. Beastman, unclear what kind of armor he might be wearing, but beastly in the purest sense. Trapjaw in his action figure design is very true to the spirit of the original design, as we saw from this. Looks much the same from some tweaks like the armor plates on both shoulders. Same with Evelyn minus any turquoise. And Triclops stat figure shows a very good redesign which amps up the tactical look. Okay, this looks completely unclear. I felt before that Adam and He-Man needed to be cast separately so we can avoid the classic Filmation cartoon problem of nobody picking up on how the two look exactly alike, minus He-Man's tan. But here it's Teela who picks up Adam from Earth to transport to Eternia, presumably knowing he's supposed to be He-Man. So I get the idea that the secret identity factor is not so much of a priority here, if at all. And I mean, he has the sword brandished right in front of Trapjaw, looking like he's ready to say, by the power of Grayskull. And because of the secret identity factor, for me, it was like 50-50 in the cartoon between enjoyment and tolerance. This is more in line with how I prefer it, and either through future trailers or watching this movie, it's up in the air how Adam and He-Man identify function in potential sequels. Back in '87, I don't think anybody felt like we could realistically depict Dolph Lundgren's He-Man to have a fierce steed, Battle Cat, in that movie. I don't even think in 1993, when we saw CG creatures take a massive upswing in Jurassic Park, that Hollywood knew how to depict human characters riding them. As I mentioned in my previous He-Man based video, it was 2005's Revenge of the Sith that I felt CG had reached that level with Obi-Wan's Varactyl. We saw his action figure from the Entertainment Weekly showcase as having an awesome helmet design, more than the original that I always felt made him look less cat-like. Though without the helmet, I love the growling Cringer in the trailer, and I'm not that concerned over how much we'll be seeing of Cowardly Cringer, as I never saw him as part of the Filmation cartoon's best lore. But I'm just happy in the prospect of his becoming He-Man's mighty battle mount. And surely I'm not the only one who wants to see this shot replicated in the movie. So I mentioned in my previous video that Dolph Lundgren's showing no indications of He-Man's trademark superhuman strength outside of breaking out of a robot warrior dog pile. It didn't really feel like he had that extent of strength. So far, Nicholas Galitzine hasn't shown any such displays either, but in his words,
"And magic swords that can make a man as mighty as a god."
That tells me that we have that kind of strength in play that can throw massive boulders and break through stone walls. And there's been a lot of backlash over Galitzine's physique. Now, I'll admit I had some expectations that he would bulk up to the same level as Henry Cavill and Chris Evans. I mean, this is my favorite of all superpowers. I made a whole video about why, with a mention of He-Man in the mix. During the late 90s and early aughts, I irked a lot of people on Batman-themed message boards over how I wanted to get away from casting an average Joe physique character a la Michael Keaton, and all due respect to those who consider him to be the GOAT. And I gushed over getting an in-shape Christian Bale and gushed even more over a bulky Ben Affleck, so I'm not foreign to this issue. But that initial rear view image of Galitzine told me to temper my physique expectation, and here's what we get. And in saying that I had to temper my expectations, that means I did for the following reasons. Number one, we've been spoiled, so we got the aforementioned Henry Cavill, Ben Affleck, and Chris Evans. Factor in also Jason Momoa and Chris Hemsworth. Those examples establish that actors who started out as actors rather than from an athletic background could potentially bulk up for larger than life character roles. At the same time, these are a couple of guys in the roles standing amid other actors playing heroes who are simply in shape. That should tell us that it's not that easy to secure an actor with that much bulk. Someone in that great a shape here I find to be more than satisfactory. Number two, staying on that same page, look at any of the probably over 100 pictures showing classic lineups of Masters of the Universe action figures and of the same characters designed in all the cartoons, except the always ignored New Adventures of He-Man. Everybody has the same level of bulk as He-Man, so suppose Galitzine could actually bulk up to the peak of what we had recently seen elsewhere. Speaking for myself, it would look uneven if He-Man is the only super hulking character among lesser build characters, and it's unrealistic to expect that same common level of bulk among the rest of the cast. Number three, have you ever stopped to think about how much muscle mass it would actually take to be as powerful as He-Man or Superman? We're talking frequent feats of moving thousands of pounds, if not tons, of rock or kaiju. If muscle mass was to equal the needed force to move all that, it would have to be beyond what room there can be to attach that muscle to your basic skeleton. In the case of Superman, it's from Kryptonian DNA, and with He-Man, it's the power of Grayskull doing, pardon the pun, the heavy lifting. And I've heard the argument that they should have CG'd the extra bulk like what we see with Mark Ruffalo in adding bulk to the Hulk. Again, speaking for myself, when I see that done with the Hulk, it follows the notion that he loses part of his humanity. And I don't want to feel that kind of thing with He-Man. But I welcome anyone's view, whichever it may be, since I'm a firm believer in all things subjective. And in the end, it's not so much about being wrong as it is about understanding different points of view. So yes, my one wish expressed in my previous He-Man video, it does show signs of coming true. The trailer shows indications of war brewing on Eternia early on, and King Randor and Queen Marlena are quickly escorting young Adam into Castle Grayskull, and ultimately he ends up being sent to Earth. We know that Skeletor is the main villain, therefore it stands to reason that he's behind all of the initial mayhem. I said in my previous video that I felt that the power coup led by Skeletor against not yet King Randor in the pilot of the 2002 He-Man series was a powerful setting for creating the story's conflict. Now it may be that it's an entirely different conflict setup in play, but I'm optimistic that the conflict will give Skeletor more layers than to be a pure black hat. How well Jared Leto depicts that is yet to be seen. But that's my insight on this year's Masters of the Universe movie. Agree? Disagree? Something I left out? Please let me know in the comment section. As always, the link to order the Sledge comic miniseries is in the link below in both digital and paper format. Please give it a look. Let's all look for civility amid all the bad news out there about social and political strife. Let's not hate. Find friends wherever we may go and see any potential friend in anybody we meet. Everyone be safe and God bless.